The internet exploded last night after several high-profile social media accounts posted what appeared to be a massive shakeup in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Headlines screamed, "Fantastic Four 2 cancelled," and Pedro Pascal fired by Disney after new abs allegations. Fans were caught off guard. Nobody saw this coming. How could Marvel, which only recently announced its revamped Phase 6 plans with the Fantastic Four as a cornerstone, suddenly pull the plug? And Pedro Pascal, the beloved star of The Mandalorian and HBO's The Last of Us, now allegedly entangled in controversy so severe that Disney decided to cut ties with him. What's true, what's twisted, and what's completely made up? We've dug deep into the chaos to separate the facts from the frenzy, and it turns out the real story is just as shocking as the rumors. Let's start with what ignited the entire firestorm. The rumor mill went into overdrive when a well-followed pop culture scoop account on X, formerly Twitter, with over 1 million followers, posted a cryptic message. Disney just pulled the plug. Fantastic Four 2 is cancelled. Pedro Pascal no longer attached. Developing. Within minutes, hashtags like "Not Fantastic Four cancelled" and "Ye AKO Pedro Pascal fired" were trending. Countless YouTube channels and fan pages rushed to speculate, post their own confirmations, and fans flooded comment sections with reactions ranging from heartbroken confusion to full-on outrage. But here's the thing, Marvel has never publicly confirmed Fantastic Four 2 was even greenlit. As of now, only one Fantastic Four reboot film has been announced, set for May 2025, with Pedro Pascal set to star as Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic. So the idea that Fantastic Four 2 was cancelled? It's misinformation, plain and simple. There was never a Fantastic Four 2 officially announced by Marvel Studios or Disney. The first movie isn't even out yet, so canceling a sequel that hasn't been confirmed doesn't make logical or industry sense. That piece of the viral news is fake, but it played perfectly into the chaos surrounding Pedro Pascal. Now, the Pedro Pascal allegation is a much murkier situation. This part of the rumor was more damaging and much harder to ignore. The internet has become a place where careers can rise and fall in hours based on nothing more than allegations, and Pedro's name being linked to new abuse claims instantly caused outrage. The original post making this claim provided no evidence, no details, no sources. It simply stated that Disney has fired Pedro Pascal due to emerging claims of misconduct on set. Again, without any further explanation or follow-up. This ambiguity gave the story room to spread like wildfire. Fact check. As of right now, no reputable media outlet, Deadline, Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, or The Wrap has published any story confirming Pedro Pascal has been fired by Disney or Marvel Studios. In fact, as of the latest update from Marvel insiders, Pedro is still attached to the Fantastic Four project, which is deep in early pre-production. Shooting hasn't even started yet. That's crucial because part of the rumor claimed that the allegations came from set behavior, but there is no set yet. No principal photography, no filming, no opportunity for on-set conduct to become a legal or HR issue. That's the first major red flag. Now let's dig into where the allegation might have originated from. Some sleuthing by internet users traced the original claim back to an anonymous post on Reddit's r.Marvel Studios spoilers subreddit, a known source of both leaks and hoaxes. The post alleged that a female crew member filed an internal report against Pedro Pascal for unprofessional comments made during costume fitting pre-tests. Again, this claim has not been substantiated. No names, no official filings, no HR leaks, nothing. Reddit moderators eventually removed the post for violating community rules, yet the damage was done. By the time the post disappeared, screenshots had already gone viral. What makes this worse is the psychological play at work. Pedro Pascal is a high-profile star with a massive, passionate fan base. And like all big names, he's vulnerable to whisper campaigns. The internet thrives on half-truths and emotional engagement. All it takes is a few key phrases, Disney, abuse, fire, to send millions into a spiral. But Disney's official press office has remained silent, which isn't unusual. Major studios almost never respond to viral rumors unless they escalate into legal territory. That silence is often misinterpreted as confirmation by fans, when in reality it's just legal and PR caution. However, we did find something very interesting buried in this situation that adds a layer of potential concern. not proof, but context. A resurfaced interview from 2022 featured Pedro Pascal joking about how he handles intense or awkward scenes with younger actors, like in The Last of Us. Some viewers are now interpreting a few of those remarks as inappropriate, though at the time, nobody flagged it. It's an example of retroactive recontextualization, which has become more common in cancel culture. Jokes or comments that once seemed harmless are now reevaluated under a harsher lens. Whether that's fair or not is subjective, but it plays a role in how stories like this catch fire. Let's pivot back to the Fantastic Four 2 cancelled claim, because there's more nuance there too. While Fantastic Four 2 hasn't been cancelled, it was never formally greenlit. There have been internal doubts about the direction of the franchise. According to inside sources at Marvel, the studio is under immense pressure after a shaky Phase 4 and Phase 5 rollout. Projects like The Marvel, Secret Invasion, and even Quantumania underperformed critically or financially. Marvel is in a state of quiet recalibration. Insiders say Kevin Feige and upper executives have been reassessing not just what stories to tell, but who should lead them. The Fantastic Four reboot is supposed to be a major rebooting point for Marvel storytelling, and there's real concern that any controversy, even just online noise, surrounding one of its leads could derail the film's momentum. That's where the rumor may have gained traction. If Pascal had been dropped or replaced, it would logically put the entire casting strategy for the reboot in jeopardy, causing delays, reshoots, and possibly even affecting timelines for sequels. So while the Fantastic Four 2 cancelled headline was false, the anxiety behind it isn't baseless. Let's also talk about the role of AI-generated content and how these rumors spread. In just the last few weeks, dozens of YouTube thumbnails, TikTok videos, and even AI-voiced fake news broadcasts have circulated using Pedro Pascal's face, often with clickbait titles and dramatic music. Some of these videos even featured completely fabricated statements that sounded eerily real, claiming to quote Disney executives or insider emails. This has added an entirely new layer of deception. Many casual fans don't realize these videos are generated and believe them to be legitimate breaking news. That's how misinformation embeds itself deeper. To add fuel to the fire, a fake Variety cover made the rounds showing the headline, Pedro Pascal dropped from Marvel amid abuse investigation. But this image was a Photoshop job, confirmed fake by Variety itself. Their editors took to X and Instagram to debunk the graphic, stating no such article or cover ever existed. But again, the damage had already been done. Many people didn't see the correction. They only saw the scandalous image. It's also important to understand the internal culture at Disney right now. Since Bob Iger's return as CEO, the company has taken a no-nonsense stance on any personnel issues that may affect its brand image. Multiple internal memos have been leaked showing that Disney wants to clean up its public reputation and streamline its media presence. That environment creates a climate of zero tolerance, but it also makes public perception much more fragile. The fact that Pascal hasn't been fired actually speaks volumes. It means Disney isn't reacting to unverified noise, at least not yet. Now, let's examine the reaction within the Hollywood industry itself. Multiple agents and insiders we spoke with off the record expressed skepticism. One talent manager with a client on a separate Marvel property said, if Pedro Pascal had actually been dropped, we'd all know by now. Studios don't make those moves quietly, especially when a film like Fantastic Four hasn't even started production. They use firings to shift blame or control narrative. There's no narrative here, just noise. Meanwhile, Pedro Pascal's team has also not issued any statement. No denial, but no confirmation either. That silence could mean one of two things. Either they're letting the storm pass because there's nothing real to address, or there's something quietly happening behind the scenes. That ambiguity creates a vacuum. And in today's online environment, vacuums get filled with wild speculation faster than ever. Let's also talk about casting fallout speculation. Some fans immediately suggested that John Krasinski could return to the role of Reed Richards if Pascal were removed. While Krasinski did cameo in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Marvel has repeatedly clarified that was a one-off fan service moment, not a long-term casting. Others floated names like Adam Driver and Dev Patel, both of whom were reportedly in early talks for the role before Pascal was confirmed. But again, as of now, no recasting discussions have been reported by reliable outlets. This is all fan-driven speculation fueled by an emotionally charged environment. The deeper issue here is what these kinds of viral hoaxes reveal about fandom culture. There's a hunger for chaos. Fans don't just want news, they want dramatic shifts, casting shocks, and studio feuds. But that hunger is being exploited by content farms, fake leak accounts, and AI-generated nonsense, creating a loop of hype and panic that even the studios can't control anymore. But before we fully dismiss the Pedro Pascal rumors as baseless, we need to ask a crucial question. Why this actor? And why now? Pedro Pascal's rise in Hollywood has been meteoric. From playing Oberyn Martell in Game of Thrones to his stoic performance in The Mandalorian, and most recently as Joel in HBO's The Last of Us, he's become a household name. He's widely regarded as one of the most bankable and beloved actors in the current era. He's charismatic, politically outspoken, deeply engaged with fans, and so far has had no major scandals attached to his name, which is exactly what makes him a prime target. When a public figure rises too high too fast, a backlash is almost inevitable, especially in today's hyper-polarized digital culture. And that backlash doesn't have to be organic. It can be coordinated. Some observers in the entertainment industry are now openly speculating that the recent wave of anti-Pedro Pascal content might not be random. There are theories, yes, theories, but with some credible backing, that this smear campaign could be coming from rival PR circles or manipulated fandom groups trying to sabotage Marvel's current casting direction. It sounds conspiratorial until you remember what happened with Brie Larson. Back in 2019, ahead of the Captain Marvel release, a highly organized backlash campaign targeted Brie Larson over supposed man-hating comments that were taken wildly out of context. Bot analysis later confirmed that many of the negative posts came from coordinated accounts, not genuine fans. So if it happened then, why not now? Especially when Marvel is rebooting one of its most iconic IPs with a new face at the center, one that some fans already had strong opinions about. In fact, digital forensics researchers tracking Pedro Pascal's recent mentions on X found that a large number of accounts amplifying the fired narrative had no post history before this week, used identical hashtags, and followed the same small cluster of gossip accounts. That's a classic botnet fingerprint. It's not just misinformation, it's weaponized misinformation, and it's becoming an industry-level problem. But let's get back to the Marvel angle, because there's another layer to this mess. The internal turbulence at Marvel Studios. Insiders have confirmed that Kevin Feige has been quietly restructuring both his executive team and the overarching Phase 6 blueprint, with Blade facing constant rewrites, Thunderbolts going through cast reshuffles, and Kang Dynasty in flux due to Jonathan Majors' legal issues and eventual firing. Marvel is no longer in control of its narrative. This lack of control breeds chaos, and chaos is fertile ground for rumor-based news. One Marvel executive, speaking to an anonymous entertainment source, reportedly said, "We're at a point where anything slightly unstable is treated like a full-blown collapse." That quote, though off the record, hits at the heart of the Fantastic Four situation. Marvel hasn't cancelled a sequel because there was none. They haven't fired Pascal because there's no substantiated reason to. But the audience perception of a company in crisis is often more damaging than the crisis itself. Even more revealing is how the mainstream press has handled the chaos. While major outlets like Variety, Deadline, and The Hollywood Reporter stayed silent or dismissed the claims, a handful of mid-tier blogs jumped at the chance to publish click-heavy stories with vague titles like "Is Pedro Pascal still Mr. Fantastic?" or "Rumors swirl around Marvel casting crisis." These headlines didn't confirm anything, but they didn't deny anything either. They leaned into ambiguity, knowing that traffic equals ad revenue. And in the news game, traffic is king. Meanwhile, Disney's tight grip on its stars has made things harder to untangle. Pedro Pascal, like many Marvel actors, is likely under an NDA that forbids him from commenting on production details, casting, or behind-the-scenes disputes. So even if he wanted to squash the rumor immediately legally, he might not be allowed to. This media silence becomes a vacuum that only makes fake stories seem more plausible. And here's another critical angle that barely anyone is talking about: the public's deteriorating trust in Marvel itself. In the golden age of Infinity War and Endgame, Marvel's word was law. If Feige said something, fans believed it. If a casting was announced, it was celebrated. But years of inconsistent storytelling, over-reliance on CGI, rushed Disney Plus series, and a slew of underwhelming Phase 4 films have created a credibility gap. Fans are quicker to believe bad news now because their faith in the brand has been shaken. That's not just a Pedro Pascal problem. It's a Marvel Studios problem. In fact, according to a recent fan poll on Reddit's Outdoor Marvel Studios, over 62% of respondents said they wouldn't be surprised if Pascal was fired, even if it turned out to be fake. That's a damning indictment of the current state of trust. People expect instability from Marvel now, and that expectation creates room for hoaxes to flourish. So what's the fallout from all of this? For Pedro Pascal, assuming this scandal remains a smear campaign with no factual basis, the long-term damage may be minimal if he speaks out soon. In today's news cycle, silence doesn't always work. What Pascal chooses to do next is crucial. If he addresses the rumors directly, perhaps through a personal post, podcast, or a subtle interview comment, he can take back control of the narrative. But if he stays silent much longer, even unfounded gossip can harden into perceived truth. That's the cruelty of viral misinformation. For Marvel, the cost is steeper. Not because they've lost a star, they haven't, but because their ability to manage public perception is clearly faltering. They've gone from being the most media-savvy studio in the business to being reactionary, opaque, and increasingly out of touch with their own fandom. This debacle with Pascal is just the latest symptom of a deeper illness, a disconnect between Marvel and its audience. If they don't fix that soon, even real news will be met with skepticism. And then there's the impact on Fantastic Four itself. Even though the film is still moving forward, its momentum has now been hijacked by scandal. Every future casting announcement, teaser image, or behind-the-scenes snippet will be filtered through the lens of, but is Pedro still Mr. Fantastic? It's a distraction that Marvel cannot afford. They needed this reboot to unite the fandom, not divide it. Already some speculative casting lists are circulating online suggesting alternate actors who could replace Pascal, even though there's been zero confirmation that he's out. These lists include Henry Cavill, Oscar Isaac, Andrew Lincoln, and even Josh Duhamel, none of whom are actually in talks. It's wish casting wrapped in misinformation. But this brings us to a broader, more uncomfortable truth. In 2025, public figures are often guilty until proven innocent. And the court of public opinion moves faster than any studio lawyer ever could. If a story feels true, people treat it as truth, even if it isn't. And in Pedro Pascal's case, all it took was a whisper, a Reddit post, and a fake Variety graphic to spark a multi-platform firestorm that millions believed. No evidence, no statement, just momentum. So what can we, the audience, do in response to this kind of situation? The answer isn't to blindly trust everything from corporate PR. It's to ask better questions. Where did this rumor start? Who benefits from its spreading? What's the source? And is that source accountable? And perhaps more importantly, are we so addicted to spectacle that we'd rather believe a scandal than accept the boring truth? Because in this case, the boring truth is this: Fantastic Four 2 hasn't been cancelled. It doesn't even exist yet. Pedro Pascal hasn't been fired. He's still attached, as confirmed by multiple internal reports. And Disney, while a flawed and often slow-moving giant, isn't in the habit of axing its biggest stars over anonymous, unsubstantiated internet gossip. But the spectacle that he was fired, the movie's dead, Disney's collapsing headlines gave fans a drama fix they weren't getting from the actual studio content. That's a storytelling failure, and Marvel, more than anyone, should know the cost of weak storytelling. As for Pedro Pascal, he's weathered Game of Thrones, he's weathered the Star Wars fandom, he's survived the brutality of The Last of Us. If this rumor storm passes, as it likely will, he'll come out stronger and perhaps even more beloved for having remained dignified in the face of noise. But this moment should be a wake-up call for everyone in Hollywood. For the studios, get ahead of the narrative or be swallowed by it. For the actors, transparency beats silence when the wolves are at the door. For the fans, don't let clicks and chaos cloud your judgment. And for the internet, stop letting anonymous posts control the destinies of real people. The Fantastic Four reboot is still on track. Pedro Pascal is still Reed Richards. But the real story here isn't about a movie. It's about how fast falsehoods travel and how close we are to turning every headline into a weapon. So the next time you see breaking neck in all caps, remember this week. Remember how easy it was to believe the lie, and remember how hard it is to undo that belief even when the truth finally shows up.